Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Fab. So we'll dive straight in with our interview and start asking questions. And our first one is so that the young people listening can get to know a little bit more about you. So please could you tell us about your career journey and your current role?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, happy to do that. So I guess let me start with my career journey. So started my career in working in marketing and strategy consulting, which was because I came out of university knowing that I wanted to work in the broad area of communications and the media, but I wasn't totally clear on, what the good career paths were, what was, where did I wanted to end up, and what was I interested in. So, partly by luck, partly by judgment, I ended up getting some work experience in a consultancy, a marketing focused consultancy. And then I was lucky that then turned into a full-time role. And I spent about nearly 5 years there, and it was a really, really great place to start my career because when you're working, this was a pretty small consultancy, so I saw close up the experienced people who ran the consultancy, learned a lot from them. And then again, because it was quite a small company and because it's a consultancy working with lots of different clients, I worked on a lot of different business and marketing challenges. So you're typically working on 3 or 4 client accounts at a time, and those change pretty regularly over the course of a year. So you get exposure to a lot of different businesses and a lot of different situations and challenges. So that was really a fantastic place to start my career, I felt, because you just sort of saw a big variety of businesses and challenges. From there, I decided that I wanted to go and work in a media company. So as opposed to kind of being the consultant giving advice, I wanted to be someone who was on the inside of a company, responsible and accountable for figuring out what that company should do and then actually doing it. So I went and worked in a magazine company, a magazine publishing company, which was a very well-established company, a very well run, and that was a great experience. Again, just seeing firsthand, how a very well-run, organized company, how it operates, how decisions were made, and how different teams work together. That was fantastic. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then I actually decided to take a career break because I hadn't done anything like that before. I hadn't traveled really before. So with my partner at the time, went and traveled for 6 months and just did some very amazing things. Went and traveled in Asia and in New Zealand and these different places, which was amazing experience. And then of course had to come back and get back into the real world and find a job. And I was lucky to find a job with one of the clients that I had worked for in the consultancy back then. So actually it turned out that consultancy was very useful, not only because it taught me a lot, but it gave me some contacts that turned out to be useful further down the line. That was the first job I had in television. First of a few jobs I had in television. So I worked in television for a few years, which was fantastic. Firstly, in a very small TV channel that was really a startup that was growing very, very fast. And in the 2 years I was there, it went from being a TV channel on Sky in the UK to being a TV channel in 55 markets, mostly around Europe and the Middle East. So massive growth and lots of launches of that channel in different markets. And again, great experience, understanding how that world works and how a new business in that world, can grow. I ended up working at ITV after a few years, and again, fantastic established brand. But what was great about that is ITV was going through quite a big transition then in terms of transitioning to digital. launching new on-demand services, what's now known as the ITV Hub. Didn't exist when I joined that. Their websites, all sorts of interactive offerings, and I was the first person they hired to really focus on marketing and product development of those interactive offerings. So working in a very established television company, trying to help them to develop and launch digital products was a great challenge. And from there I went into, I guess, what you could call like fully the world of digital. So I moved to YouTube in 2010, and that was pretty early in the journey of YouTube. YouTube was founded in 2000, or bought by Google, I think, in 2006. So 2010, they hadn't really figured out what to do with it. They were just getting it going as a really big business. And so I was there, turned out, quite early in terms of building the YouTube that we sort of know and love today. Creators were that no one knew that word in 2010. There was no such thing. It was only user generated content. There were no channels on YouTube. There were just individual videos, and things went viral. So we did a lot of work over the next 9 years to organize YouTube and make it more accessible in lots of different ways, and we launched all sorts of new services within YouTube, so things like YouTube Kids and YouTube Premium, which is a subscription offering of YouTube. So that was fantastic. And then 3 years ago I moved to TikTok, and that was early in TikTok's life. It was not even a year old in Europe, and so very early, very few people there, and really just a brilliant experience of building that business up from very, very early days. Very few people on the ground when I arrived, and just helping to figure out, okay, well, what should the strategy for the business be? And so that comes to your question about what's my current role. So this general manager role, which sounds quite broad and is fairly broad, in that I do get involved in lots of different things that we do as we build our business, and organizing how we grow our teams and open offices in different parts of Europe. I do have a particular focus on growing the user base of TikTok, so a lot of marketing and product and growth work that's focused on continuing to grow the user base of the platform, and then growing the content base. So all of the creators and partners producing content on TikTok, I'm very focused on how we can help them to make TikTok work for them, and that includes helping them understand the platform creatively, how to produce content for it, but it also includes helping them understand how they can monetize their presence on TikTok and turn that into a business for many of them. So those are a couple of things that I'm kind of particularly focused on.
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. It's great to see kind of where you started and all the little steps that have led you to be general manager at TikTok. So fab. Our next question is, how does TikTok wish to support creatives through the use of their app?
Well, I mean, TikTok, every sort of company has every tech company certainly has a sort of mission, right? And TikTok's mission is all about enabling people to be creative. That's TikTok's kind of number one purpose. And so many things that we do are focused around helping creatives to use the app. And I guess I would broaden the point, because we definitely want to help creatives. So maybe you might think of that as being like, established creators or creative companies or people working for creative companies. And we definitely do want to help those people to use TikTok. So we produce, pretty sophisticated, hopefully easy to use, but pretty sophisticated editing tools within TikTok that those people can use. We license music so that those people can add music to their TikToks. We have created a whole kind of ecosystem of effects. So we create effects like augmented reality effects and other effects that you can add to your TikToks. We create many of those ourselves, but we've also now started bringing effects into TikTok from developers and creatives outside of TikTok. They can submit effects to be used within TikTok. So we have all of those kind of work streams that are about really helping very creative, highly creative, often very, very skilled people use TikTok in different ways. But we are also really, really focused on enabling people who wouldn't even necessarily consider themselves as creatives, regular people, regular users, who giving them really simple ways to express themselves on TikTok. And that includes things like the whole concept of hashtag challenges is a great example, I think, where you may not sort of know exactly what you want to do or say yourself. You may not have a channel that you're producing content on every week, but you see a challenge that lots of people are taking part in, and you do actually have a personal take, a personal spin on that challenge that you that it would be fun for you to create and upload as part of that. And that's where we really love seeing how many people who wouldn't normally post to a video platform, they do post to TikTok because it's fun. People don't judge each other too much, and as I say, we hope and we think that we've made it actually pretty easy for people to do that. So that's kind of how we think about creative tools and creatives.
Yeah, I definitely agree. TikTok has some of the craziest sounds and edits and filters and all sorts of things. It's definitely got a very large variety, and I imagine that's an awesome job kind of creating those and being part of that.
Definitely.
So as you're talking about kind of creativity, it's clearly very key to TikTok, and technology is forever developing and changing. What sort of job roles do you think could exist in the future that are linked with this?
Yeah, I love this question. I love this one. I mean, maybe I'll start with some of the roles that exist now that didn't exist a short while ago. So we have a lot of people working in roles that are focused on really understanding the trends, the content trends that develop in different communities within TikTok. There are people that are analyzing data and seeing which hashtags or which types of content are being used, and then understanding like how really viral trends happen. And how we can support the creators and users who are making those happen. So there was a huge viral trend. I mean, a couple of examples recently. There was one around Binley Mega Chippy, which a lot of people will know about. So that team was trying to understand like why, how did that trend happen? What does that mean about the kind of things people are interested in, and how can we help other users and creators to sort of understand that information when they're producing content for TikTok? We had another trend featuring Louis Theroux doing a rap from a BBC documentary years ago that he did in an interview with a YouTube channel. So it's fascinating, just like deconstructing how these things happen. And so we have people focused on that, which wouldn't have existed not many years ago. In terms of what's going to exist in the future, I think I mean, we talked about effects, right? I think the technology around effects, around augmented reality, is just getting incredibly sophisticated. And so, like I said, we've recognized that there's a lot of really talented creative people out there who don't work for TikTok but who can and are creating effects. So we've created a job which is of a community manager, so someone who works within TikTok but helps a broader community of creative people to create effects that can be used within TikTok. That's something that didn't even exist a year or two ago, and I think we'll see more and more of those kind of roles coming. Then, of course, you've got new technologies like virtual reality is it's always 5 years away, but at some point virtual reality is going to become a very, very major thing, and there will be many jobs related to building that technology, but also managing the communities that exist within virtual reality environments. So I think those are some of the examples that of things that are new, or that I think are probably coming.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what your thoughts are, but I guess we can't really predict it until it's fully invented. So definitely going to be interesting to see what happens.
You can't predict it, but you can definitely see where some of the broad macro trends are going. So it's clear that augmented reality is a big deal. Not everyone believes virtual reality will be a big deal, but a lot of people do, and so I think you could sort of understand some of those bigger trends. And even if you just look at TikTok and just see that this community-driven content experience, TikTok is really a platform that's powered by lots and lots of communities, some really small ones, some really big ones, and so people who understand those communities and how they work, that's actually a very valuable skill now.
Great. Well, thank you for answering that one. Our next question is around different programs. So TikTok runs several different programs. For example, one of those programs is called TikTok for Good. What's the aim of these programs and why are they important?
Yeah, I think TikTok for Good is a program that's about recognizing that TikTok has a platform, in the sense of it has a brand that people recognize and people are attracted to, and it has a digital platform in terms of the user community that exists within TikTok. And in having those things, I think many companies, including TikTok, recognize that means you have an opportunity, and I think we feel a responsibility to find ways to use that platform in ways that are really positive and beneficial for society. So that's fundamentally what it's about. It's about how can we use the platform that we have in positive ways. And there are many initiatives and programs that sit under TikTok for Good. We have done a lot of work with the creative industries in the UK in particular. So we've worked with different parts of the creative industries in musical theatre, in music, in order to provide kind of opportunities, whether that's skills or training or bursaries for people who are trying to develop careers into those industries. So we feel that one of the things TikTok does really well as a product is help new voices to kind of break through and find an audience. And so we try and reflect that and work with parts of the creative industries to help. There's many amazing programs and bursaries and scholarships and courses within the creative industry. So we try and support some of those. We also try and support. We've done a partnership with the Royal Shakespeare Company to enable 16 to 24-year-olds to get reduced price tickets to see Shakespeare. We just felt like that was a great partnership and a way of supporting what we felt was a brilliant initiative and giving TikTok's brand to that. So there's a whole range of things. We're doing a lot in the environment and sustainability space under the TikTok for Good banner. We feel that like everybody in the world, right, we all have this almost like a second responsibility on top of our day job, which is to think about the environment and our planet and how we can raise awareness and raise engagement with behaviors that will support a sustainable world. So those are just some examples of the kind of things we do, and in a way I think it's hopefully self-explanatory why they're important. They're important because these are topics that are really valuable to people if they're trying to find their way in their careers, or in terms of trying to support and advocate for a better kind of climate situation. So it's about doing TikTok's small part in some of those areas where we feel we have a kind of relevance or a role to play.
Thank you for kind of talking about your programs. I know that some people aren't even aware that these things exist, so it's great to kind of tell all our students who are listening about those programs. So our next question is, how important is accessibility on apps like TikTok?
Yeah, it's really important. You know, I talked about TikTok providing creative tools that everyone can use, right? A really, really core part of TikTok's philosophy is about trying to include everybody. We're not just for people who have expensive, you know, camera equipment. We're not just for people who know editing, you know, skills. It's really trying to be very inclusive. And I think that goes for accessibility as well. We really need to recognize that, you know, when you've got an audio-visual product that we have, there are many people with audio-visual accessibility needs, and they can't, you know, they can't access the product in the same way as other people. And so it's just a core part of our sort of product philosophy. So our product team, you know, thinks through different accessibility challenges. So, for example, they launched a photosensitivity feature. So some TikTok videos, you know, might be from a music event, or, you know, it might have a lot of flashing lights in there. And so the team has created a capability for TikTok to recognize those videos that have high flashing lights and could be triggering for people with photosensitivity, and provide a warning. So when that video shows up in your feed, it will be overlaid with a text image that will say, you know, this video could be challenging for someone with those issues, and you can choose whether you go on to watch the video or whether you just skip it. So we try and look at it, you know, in the context of like specific challenges, you know, within TikTok in terms of the way our feed works and the type of content that might be in the product. So it's a very you know, customized way of thinking about accessibility, but that's how we think about it.
Thank you for talking about that, because we do think it's a really kind of important thing to always be aware of, particularly on social media. So our next question is, what is digital well-being, and what is TikTok doing to support this?
Digital well-being, you know, for me is about being able to have a healthy and relationship with digital technology and digital media, and just one where you have agency and control, and you can consume those, you know, consume digital media, but do it in a way that is in line with what you want. And everybody's, you know, version of that is different, right? So it's all about giving people tools to control their experience, because there's not one size fits all. So again, you know, we take a pretty customized view of digital well-being according to TikTok as a product. And so we do a range of things. You know, we provide a screen time summary, so you can see on a daily and weekly basis how much TikTok screen time you've had on your phone, on your account. We provide the ability to set limits for that. And we provide the ability to, or the ability to set a specific time. So anywhere between, well, you can set a custom time, but it could be 5 minutes, could be 50 minutes, could be an hour and a half. You can set that time for yourself. And after that time, TikTok will serve you a reminder saying, you might want to take a break here. You've sort of told us that this could be enough. So I think you know, providing those tools and enabling people to use them and sort of customize them for their own needs is really, really important. We also provide a lot of you know, we build into our tools a lot of into our product a lot of tools that are based on, you know, different users' age, right? So for example, if you're a user under the age of 16, you won't get any push notifications after a certain time of day, because we don't want people to be getting push notifications, you know, late into the evening. So those are just some examples of the things we try and build. But of course, it's ultimately it's up to every individual user, and it's up to if you're a younger user, up to your parents as well. Like how to just create a really good balanced way of using digital media alongside other things you're doing in your life.
Thank you for going over some features. I myself use TikTok, and I'm sure as probably everybody does watching, and I didn't know about some of those features, so it's really great. And maybe some of us out there need to be a little bit more aware of our own digital well-being and can start taking advantage of some of those things that TikTok has in place. Our final question for the interview before we move on to the student Q&A is, TikTok is constantly changing. How important is innovation in keeping users engaged?
It's everything. It's everything. TikTok is where it is because it innovated. Vertical video kind of existed before TikTok, but the way TikTok did it with full screen, sound on immediately that you opened the app, really easy navigation, through the For You feed. Like, these are all innovations that that people really enjoy. So innovation is everything in digital media, and TikTok is constantly looking at how we can innovate. I mean, we have and continue to do all sorts of I talked about effects earlier. We keep trying to innovate in terms of the type of tools that we provide people to be creative, whether they're audio or visual effects or different transition techniques, different filters. The team that builds those creative tools is probably having the most fun out of anyone at TikTok, because the sky's the limit, really, of how far can you keep. The whole point of those creative tools is you've got to be as creative and innovative as possible. So they just have an amazing time dreaming up weird and wonderful things to do. We also innovate, a little bit more simply perhaps, but like when TikTok started off, it was 15-second videos only. You can now upload videos that are up to 10 minutes. You can live stream on TikTok if you have a certain number of followers. So we keep innovating in terms of the ways that you can communicate on TikTok. Not just the way you can produce a short video, but other types of longer videos. So with 10-minute videos, you see people creating really quite in-depth stories and episodic type content on TikTok. And then we create products where a user can kind of link those videos together in a playlist. So if they want to create 4 10-minute videos that tell a longer story, users can very easily see between those. So we're constantly innovating in sort of very micro ways with things we already do, and then in more macro ways that really extends the nature of TikTok as a platform.
Well, thank you so much for answering our interview questions. We're now going to move on to our student Q&A, and all these questions have been submitted to us today. So we're going to start with an anonymous person who submitted the question, what does your day-to-day look like?
Well, I mean, I could be boring and sort of say what everyone says to this, which is there's no sort of typical day, which is kind of true, but also not quite true. So a typical day, right, is a combination of I'm doing a lot of video calls. So sometimes I'm in the office doing those calls in a meeting room, but almost every time I'm in a meeting room, there are people on a screen as well as people in the room themselves, because I work with people based in different countries, work very closely with people from, all sorts of different locations around the world. So very often there's people on a screen, whether I'm at home or in the office. But so I will be, I talked about some of the areas of work that I'm working on, whether it's, how we grow our user base, how we grow content. So think about a combination of meetings that some of which are very analytical, looking at very detailed sets of data to understand, what kind of, content are users enjoying on TikTok, and what kind of new products and features are coming from our product team. How do they work? How can we help users and creators to understand them? and use them effectively. So some of it's very analytical in that way, and then I have a lot of meetings that are more about how we operate as an organization. So like how our team's organized, how do we collaborate between one team and another more effectively. We're really rapidly growing business, right? So we're constantly trying to understand like how we can work together more effectively, because maybe 3 months ago a certain team or a certain individual wasn't in the team. So now as we grow, we have to figure out how to evolve and adapt. So all of those things are happening, and then I'm lucky enough that on a pretty regular basis, not every day, but on a pretty regular basis, I am spending time with creators or with music artists or with some of our content partners, whether it's sports clubs or broadcasters, to again help them understand TikTok, like what's happening on TikTok, how can they make it work for them, what are their goals in terms of the content they want to produce and the audiences they want to reach. So probably a combination. Best way to understand it is a combination of those three things. Right now I'm sitting at home in front of my laptop, and so there's plenty of time I spend doing that. And of course, it's amazing now that you can sit at home in front of your laptop and connect with, my colleagues anywhere in the world incredibly easily. So I do plenty of that as well.
Thank you for answering that one. The next one we have comes from Don Valley Academy, from their Year 10 media students. And they've asked, what further education subjects did you study after Year 11?
Well, I studied humanities, so like a lot of arts, history, English, languages, and then I did a degree in philosophy and French, so very non-vocational. It wasn't about specific skills, but incredibly useful nonetheless. I mean, definitely philosophy. I don't know if anyone's studying philosophy, but if you work in media or technology, a lot of the questions that come up in philosophy are really, really relevant. But it's also very useful because you're dealing with quite abstract questions, and I find that working in technology, you often deal with those kind of questions. So that's what I studied, and it's I've then become I've spent a lot of my career working in media, in marketing roles, this kind of thing. And as I say, I think humanities, just which is really about communication and understanding other people's communication and understanding patterns of behavior and patterns of thinking. That's incredibly helpful for the work that I've ended up doing. So yeah, that's what I did.
Fabulous. Our next question, because I want to get through as many as possible, is another anonymous, and it's with all the danger, sorry, not with all the danger, but with things on kind of social media and all the different types of content. What does TikTok do to safeguard young people and children from accessing improper content?
Yeah, great question. So we have a very, very large team called the Trust and Safety team within TikTok, which is a large part of the total TikTok kind of team around the world. That team is based around the world, so that they have people who speak every language. They have people in every time zone, and they are responsible for the safekeeping of the TikTok community, and they do that really using a combination of technology and then using a combination of human moderation and judgment. And the technology is incredibly sophisticated technology that is able to detect, from the audio and the visual image of a video, detect certain content that is either definitely or likely to be against our community guidelines. So the community guidelines on TikTok are a list of 15 principles and areas that you just are not allowed to post content. So like, you know, nudity, and you know, there's 15 of them, and they're very clearly set out. They're published on our website. You can go and read the community guidelines, and so the trust and safety team is responsible for setting those community guidelines and then enforcing that any content that is uploaded that doesn't fit with them is taken down. And a lot of that content, majority of that content, is taken down automatically because the technology that can scan the videos as they're uploaded is able to detect that. Other content moderation is a very complicated, nuanced thing. So some videos are referred to human moderators to review and make judgments, and they will review individual videos and determine, you know, whether they are allowed depending on the specific case and the community guidelines. So that's broadly how it works. It's a very, very complex and really important set of work, and it's constantly evolving, right? Because the things, you know, people try and upload are constantly changing. So it's very, very important. It's something we invest a lot in, and you know, I'm really, you know, proud to say that, you know, it's something that TikTok, you know, takes very seriously and does generally very well.
Thank you for answering that one. Our next one comes from Harris Academy, and they have asked, which influencers or people on TikTok do you think are using the app in an interesting way or doing something different?
Well, there's we've done quite a few things with film festivals this year, and so I've seen quite a lot of creators who you know, are producing sort of short film type content on TikTok. One of them that I love is a creator called Last Man Stanley. I think he's either American or Canadian, but he produces just very atmospheric, slightly weird kind of vignettes of filmic type content. But there's quite a lot of, if you look at the hashtag short film or TikTok short film, you'll see some really brilliant, you know, short stories that are being told in a few minutes of TikTok videos. So that's an area that I think is really fascinating and amazing, and you know, and sort of growing in a really interesting way. You know, I love a lot of the comedy creators. We're going up to Edinburgh next month for the Fringe Festival, and we're going to be working with a lot of the comedians, a lot of the street performers. You do see a lot of, you know, very, very good comedy. And I also love that, you know, on TikTok Live, you can actually see a lot of buskers and street performers on TikTok doing, you know, really fantastic content from, you know, towns and cities all over the UK. So, you know, I mean, it's endless. There's so many, you know, great. But those are a couple of the communities that I've been, you know, looking at a lot recently, and I think are very cool.
Great, thank you for sharing some of that stuff, because we've definitely had a couple of questions around like who's your favorite and what's interesting and things. So it's great that you've answered that one for us. So our next question has come in again anonymously, and it's, what's the best thing about your job?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I get asked this a lot, and it's hard. It's honestly really hard to pick. But probably the best thing is that you are, you know, just constantly surprised and impressed by people's creativity. You know, the thing that really has always motivated me in my career is the power of creativity and the power of you know, really interesting creative communication to get a message across or connect people or whatever it is. And so I really do think that TikTok has enabled more people to be more creative than anything we've seen before. And so the best part of my job, I think, is is being exposed to a lot of that, and spending time thinking about how do we encourage more of that, and how do we reward the people who are doing that on TikTok, and make TikTok work even better for those people. So I think that's probably the thing that I find most rewarding.
So I think we have time just for a couple more questions. So we're going to go with another anonymous one, which is, how does TikTok as a company make money?
Great question. Mostly through advertising. So you will see as you scroll through your For You feed, every so often there is an advert. Sometimes the first thing you see when you open TikTok is an advert. That's called a top view advert. So brands pay to have their adverts on TikTok like that. So that's the main way that TikTok makes money. There are some other ways. So for example, when you're live streaming on TikTok, people can give digital tips and gifts, and so TikTok makes some money from that, but the main source of revenue is from advertising.
Fabulous. Thank you. And we've had a great question come in from Laura, which is, did you feel worried about leaving YouTube to go to a very young company that could have gone under with no guarantee of success?
I mean, weirdly, I didn't. I probably, should have done in a way, just because the question is totally right. Like, TikTok was a very young company, and it wasn't established at that point. It wasn't proven. But honestly, I had a really high level of confidence that TikTok was going to succeed. Even at that early stage when I joined TikTok, I could see that the product was doing something genuinely new, innovative, and that was very, very popular already, even with a small group of people at that point. And I guess I just felt, from what I knew and seen at YouTube, I really felt confident that TikTok was gonna provide something new, and build on all the great things that YouTube and other companies have done in terms of creating this community of creators who do produce great content. So yeah, it's a great question. I probably should have done, but I actually felt really confident that TikTok was gonna succeed.
Fabulous. So we're almost out of time. So before we kind of go today and end the session, do you have any kind of final thoughts and feelings that you would like to leave our students with?
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was helpful. I guess maybe the thing I would say is, if you're interested in a career in media, in technology, I think TikTok is something that you find interesting, then it's really worth understanding that there's a very, very broad range of roles that exist within a company like TikTok. There are roles, I mentioned, for people, who really are very content focused and about understanding content trends and how different creators work and helping them understand it. And then there are very, very technical roles in all sorts of different areas, whether it's in engineering, software engineering. We have all sorts of teams, like our legal teams, our business affairs teams, our finance teams. All those people have very specific skills and capabilities, but they're all working together to make TikTok succeed. So I guess that would be the sort of thing I would leave people with, is if you think that a company or an area like tech or like TikTok is interesting, then just know that you can do a very broad range of things and be part of a company like that. So you don't just have to be someone who's an expert in the content part of video or that kind of thing. There's a really, really broad range of skills that a company like TikTok needs in order to succeed.